In this video, we will introduce RPA, which stands for Robotic Process Automation. And we will also talk about the application of RPA in accounting and auditing. In next week, we will have some tutorials about RPA using a software called UiPath Studio. Now let's get started. And I will first show you a short video about Robot.
This is the story of work. It started a long time ago, on a Monday, which was handy. For as long as history itself, the humans needed to work. They wanted to work, to grow things and create things and build things, to see what they were capable of, to stand at day's end and say, I did that, which felt pretty good. So they worked more, built more, and created more, and traveled to far-off places. And then someone suggested submitting expense reports for those far-off places. His name was Glenn, and he was a jackass. Anyway, the people kept getting better at work. They built better tools to work more efficiently. They built amazing machines to work faster. They built computers to work smarter. But still, they couldn't do enough work. Because during all that work to do more work, they had created work. And not the good kind. Not the let's sit around and come up with ideas kind. Not the I can't wait to get to work so I can jump into a new project kind. The crap kind. The drudge and data and admin and the damned expense reports. So the humans had to work more at work they didn't like. That made them robotic. That didn't inspire. They had to postpone vacations. They had to miss family dinners. They were pissed. And then something happened. Someone had a really amazing idea. They came into work and said, stop working and start working. The humans thought she might have had wine at lunch, so she showed them a way to put the fun back into work, to waste less time doing the things they hated, to make more efficient the big tasks, to stop making the humans act like robots, and start teaching the robots to learn the humans. Not to replace people, but to free them. Even Glenn. Robots that learn you. Imagine the potential, like starting over. To help us remember again that work only really works when we're happy at it.
This is interesting, right? And actually, this video is made by UiPath, which is the software we will introduce next week. And I guess this video already gives you a good intuition of what a robot is and what RPA can do for us humans. So what is RPA? RPA, the Robotic Process Automation, is the technology that enables a software program to mimic human actions while interacting with computer applications to accomplish required tasks. This often requires reading, typing, or clicking on existing applications that are used to perform the given tasks. And RPA can actually replicate the actions performed by a human user in the graphical user interface of an application. And here are 6 major characteristics of the RPA. First, the RPA reads and processes data in a structured form from various applications. RPA can extract information from different files, such as the PDF files, Word file, and Excel files, and then process it as per the requirement. Second, RPA operates on different applications. It is non-invasive. I say non-invasive because it doesn't require the company to change any existing applications. In contrast, some technologies, such as blockchain, require the company to make a lot of change. For example, previously the company might use the ERP system and they store their data in ERP or other databases. But if they plan to adopt the blockchain, then they might store their data. They might need to transfer the data to the blockchain and just don't use that database again, but just use the blockchain. And that means the blockchain is invasive. But here, for the robotic process automation, it's not invasive at all. And also, it can access the applications like CRM, websites, Microsoft Office applications that are used to perform repetitive tasks and already used by the company. Third, RPA enables a software program to mimic human actions. This means if you deploy an RPA, you can see how the RPA is working on your screen. So it will be quite similar to watching a human operate on his computer. And fourth, RPA is easy to implement and is powerful to scale. It's very RPA solutions can be easily deployed and developed. The number of robots can also be increased or decreased depending on the requirement. And RPA can work for 24 hours, 7 days per week without making errors. Because we have predefined rules for the robots, so it can just conduct the rules, and although it works continuously without taking a break, the results will still be accurate. And finally, RPA as a technology creates a digital robotic workforce. This means that RPA can replace the work of a human in a process. And some companies actually call the RPA as the digital employee. But later we will also talk about this. Although RPA can replace certain human work, it can only replace the simple and repetitive work of humans, but not the works that involve a lot of professional judgment. And RPA is also often used to link different applications. So the data from some applications might be input into another application. And here is a video. It gives an example of using RPA to do the invoice extraction and processing. I'd like you to watch this video later after class. Now, let's look at the benefits of RPA. The implementation of an RPA solution is expected to bring several benefits to an organization, and some of the main advantages of adopting an RPA solution are listed below. The first one is the increased execution speed. So it's very intuitive that robots are quicker and more efficient than a human operator. So deploying RPA can drastically increase the speed of execution of repetitive tasks. The second advantage is the improved accuracy. RPA implementation leads to an increase in system accuracy because RPA works on a predefined set of rules and instructions, so it can minimize the errors of omission and commission. The third advantage is the improved compliance and governance. RPA solutions are adopted in accordance with regulatory compliance. For example, in banking sector, since the robot login details are secure and unique, the activity carried out is well controlled and supervised. So this leads to improved regulatory compliance, which creates transparency and also allows the user to identify any issues or defect easily. Another advantage is the reduced cost of process execution. Because the work capacity of robots is superior to that of human workers, by adopting the RPA, the task execution rate is considerably increased, and the corresponding costs are significantly decreased. We know the robot can work 24 hours, 7 days a week, and without any relaxation. And this can increase the productivity and improve the output, which in turn releases the human workforce capacity for performing creative and high-value tasks. So if you have the robots doing the repetitive and dull work for you, then you can have more time and effort to focus on higher level tasks. And finally, RPA are easier scaling. The amount of work involved in a process can vary, as unexpected changes are likely to occur in most business environments. An RPA solution is highly adaptable, as it can be scaled up or down as per the fluctuations in the business environment. For performing a particular task, you can easily increase or decrease the number of robots in the system without compromising on the quality of work. And here are some tasks that the RPA deals with. Here I list the criteria for the task that needs to meet if you want to use the RPA to automate the task. So first, the task needs to be definable. This means that you can write down the task step by step. For example, let me give you an example of a task that is definable. So an auditor goes to Google and then type USD to euro and copy and paste the value to an Excel book. So this task is described by me, and thus it is a definable task. But for some tasks, they involve a lot of professional or subjective judgment, and they are hard to be described as procedures, then they are not definable tasks. And the second criterion is standardized. This means the steps you follow should be standardized. The same procedures are always used to accomplish that task. The third criterion is rule-based. This is quite similar to the first criterion. This means that there is not any judgment involved, but the bot can just follow the rules to finish the task. The fourth criterion is repetitive. This means that the task should be repetitive, because if it is a one-time task, then it is costly to build a bot to accomplish that task, right? And finally, the task should have machine-readable inputs. In the example before, so the auditor goes to the website and type in the USD to euro and copy and paste that value to an Excel book. So in that process, all the data are machine readable. But if you want to deal with some machine unreadable inputs, for example, the physical contracts or other physical documents, then you cannot use RPA to automate that process. You need to first scan the physical papers to PDF files, and maybe you also need to transform the PDF to plain text, and then you can build an RPA to automate the task. Okay, let's look at some examples of business processes for automation. Here, for example, the customer onboarding, vendor onboarding, material master management, sales order creation, invoice processing, payment allocation, purchase order processing, order fulfillment, cash allocation, and reporting. All these processes exhibit some or all the features of processes suitable for automation we discussed before, and they can easily be automated using RPA. And this slide shows an overview of industries that are best suited for RPA. So RPA solutions are being deployed in various industries globally, and some of the industries that benefit from RPA include first, the banking and finance. This industry benefits considerably from RPA because it helps them to strengthen their compliance processes. RPA deployment actually helps in achieving operational efficiency and provides better analytical insights. The processes such as retail credit assessment and also like fraud prevention and account settlement and payment clearance, these tasks are already automated in banking and finance industry. And insurance industry is also benefited from RPA. The RPA provides streamlined compliance underwriting. The quick processing of tasks by robots has speeded up the claims management process, so enhancing the customer experience and satisfaction. These operational costs are also reduced accordingly, and all this had enabled the organizations to get better customer insights and analysis from the RPA solutions. Healthcare industry also benefit from RPA because RPA are used to streamline the front and back end office operations. The applications are integrated in RPA solutions, and the processes can therefore work seamlessly without any manual intervention, and this leads to enhanced patient record confidentiality. For the manufacturing industry, the RPA facilitates reporting and administrative tasks. RPA can provide benefit in areas such as bills of materials and also the front office experience and like back office operations, etc. So RPA can lower the operational costs for manufacturing industry. For the customer service, RPA can provide numerous benefits like better data integration, security, and enhanced visible service provision. It also enables the organization to handle seasonal volume spikes and combine services with flexible integration. And for travel or transportation or logistic industry, RPA helps in streamlining the order management process, enabling real-time access to customer information and linking external supply chain applications to internal tools. So RPA implementation can optimize the order distribution cycle and thus ensure seamless and error-free operations for travel or transportation and logistic industry. Here are some business units where RPA can be used for automating the processes. For example, sales, human resources, operations, information technology, supply chain, finance, and accounting. These are the, so every organization comprises of various business units, right? And each unit follow multiple processes. And here, these business units, these processes are very typical for these business units to use RPA to automate. And RPA have some simple functions. The most typical ones include first, open, read, and create emails. Second, the RPA can log in to the enterprise apps. And RPA can also move files and folders. It can copy and paste, can fill in forms, read and write to databases, follow decision rules, and it can also collect statistics, extract data from documents, make calculations, obtain human input via emails and workflow, pull data from the internet, and also do the keystrokes. We will introduce the functions in the tutorials next week. Okay. And here is the development of RPA. So the Gartner actually predicted that 90% of large organizations globally will have adopted RPA in some form by 2022, and it's already 2022. I hope you can search online and find out if this prediction is correct. So here is a magical quadrant for RPA made by Gartner last year. And you can see x-axis is the completeness of vision, y-axis is the ability to execute, and the UiPath and Automation Anywhere are the leading softwares for RPA. Here I give you some links. One is the UiPath Academy. You can find a lot of materials to learn about RPA using the UiPath Studio. And the second is the link to the Automation Anywhere University. Okay, now we will talk about RPA's applications in audits. Actually, RPA can be used in each phase of an audit. If we map the audit, okay, so this includes the audit planning, the risk assessment, substantive procedures, and reporting. And here is the audit task structure. So you can see for the structured audit tasks and semi-structured audit tasks, which are the most of the audit tasks can be realized using RPA. But for some unstructured audit tasks, it can only be conducted by human or use cognitive automation. And audits include many manual and repetitive tasks that are appropriate for RPA. So notice that most of the time we can only use RPA for manual and repetitive tasks. So here are some examples. When we want to load the client data into audit software or analytics tools like Caseware or Excel, we can use RPA to do that. And we can also use RPA to create audit-ready work papers. We can perform sampling and confirmations, perform specific audit steps such as reconciliation, internal control testing, analytical procedures using RPA. So here is an example of using RPA in back reconciliation.
Hello, I'm Prrocedure, COO at Jolt Advantage Group. Today I'll show you how finance reconciliation can be automated with robotic process automation. Account reconciliation is a process that businesses must perform periodically to balance out their books by comparing two sets of financial records. This is typically a tedious and repetitive process that requires a human workforce manually comparing multiple financial statements from disparate systems to prevent balance sheet errors, making it a prime use case for automation. For this demo, we'll use the bank account reconciliation process. This process begins by comparing the cash balances to the bank statement, then identifying and documenting any payments made in the internal cash register but not represented on the bank statement, which might include ATM transactions and checks. This requires making the necessary adjustments to the bank statement's balances to reflect the correct amount. To do this, they must add deposits in transit, subtract outstanding checks, and either add or subtract bank errors. Changes will also have to be made to the cash balance records so that they can appropriately represent all company transactions. This will be accomplished by ensuring that all charges and deposits are properly recorded in the company's cash account. Next, we validate that the final balances are now the same once changes have been made and records are matched, which concludes the reconciliation process. However, if records are still mismatched, the process must be repeated to determine the source of the mistake. The bank account reconciliation process is often performed at the end of every month, week, and even at the end of each day by businesses that have a large number of transactions, which amounts to a significant amount of repetitive work that tends to be error-prone. Now let's look at how our bot can complete this task in a fraction of the time. The automation will start with the robot logging into the financial software. Go to the Reconciliations Due, enter all the necessary information, select the targeted account, fill in the details, upload the files, run the report, and release it to the human workforce for review. Now that we know how the process works and how the robot can automate it, it's time to see the robot in action. First, the robot will log into the financial system and go to the targeted account.
So actually here, it is the robot that is conducting the operations, not the human. But if you just look at the screen, you will have the illusion that it's like the human is operating, right? Actually, next week, we will use the UiPath, which is also used by this video, to build some simple processes, and then you can have a better understanding. So before, the robot already log into the system, and then it will conduct the reconciliation.
Demo, the robot's configured to run at debug mode, which runs at a much slower pace than in production.
You can see here, this UI, this icon is actually the robot built by UiPath.
After filling in all the details, the robot will upload the Excel file in a matter of seconds. And as a final step, the robot will run the report and finally release it for review. This can be done repeatedly for thousands of accounts, error-free, and in a fragment of the time a human workforce would, enabling them to reallocate their time and higher value work.
So this is actually the UiPath Studio we will use later. And here is the workflow, so the predefined rules for the robot to follow.
And this concludes our demo of automating finance reconciliation with RPA. If you're interested in leveraging the power of RPA to support your financial department, please get in contact with Jolt Advantage Group.
Okay, nice example. So the example of RPA in analytical procedures. So RPA can also be used in analytical procedures. For example, first, it can access prior year audit work papers. Then it will search for audited revenue amount. So here is the workflow we defined step by step as rules. And so third step is to extract a report from with prior year revenue balance. And fourth, import revenue data into an audit tool. And fifth, compare total revenue from current year to total revenue in prior year. And finally, create alert if difference exceeds materiality level. So this procedure can be built in the UiPath Studio so as a workflow for the robot to conduct automatically. And also the internal control testing can be predefined as rules too. So it can be automated by RPA. And let's look at this video. It talks about the example of RPA in internal control testing.
Robotic process automation, or RPA, is quickly emerging as a must-have enterprise capability. By automating low-value repetitive human activities, bots can increase business productivity, create consistent quality, and help operations scale. For certain activities, bots can generate as much as a threefold savings over traditional offshore business process outsourcing. That means that by using RPA, risk and compliance functions can reduce cost, but they can also better protect the business as bots help to drive productivity and more expansive risk coverage. Knowing when and how to best use this must-have automation is the key to unlocking its value. Here's an example of RPA in action.
I'm John, a manager in PwC's Enterprise System Solutions practice, and I'm going to walk through an example of RPA being used to automate internal controls testing, specifically how we can use a bot to help assess the independence of control performers for SOX control.
Oh, sorry.
Here's an example of RPA in action.
Practice, and I'm going to walk through an example of RPA being used to automate internal controls testing, specifically how we can use a bot to help assess the independence of control performers for SOX controls used to mitigate segregation of duties conflicts. The purpose of the bot is to perform various combinations of transactional lookups in the client's ERP system to determine if the control owners are independent. That is, they are not performing a control over the same transaction activity they've performed. First, the bot starts with an Excel-based roster of SOX control performers. Then, after logging into SAP, it pulls queries of the tables to identify transactional activity performed by those users for a specified date range. For this example, we are using tables for journal entry postings and checking to ensure the control performers who perform reviews of journal entries are also not posting entries. Without using a bot, this is a highly manual process that can take days for an organization to complete. Once the bot has finished pulling the queries, it populates an Excel controls workbook documenting the results of the queries and capturing screenshots to validate parameters. Finally, the bot updates the Excel workbook with formulas and pivot tables to summarize the results in a format that an auditor can easily digest. By using a bot to perform this type of analysis, an organization can significantly reduce manual effort to demonstrate control performance and improve the quality of audit evidence by consistently capturing appropriate screenshots and data to validate completeness and accuracy of data used in the performance of the control.
As enterprises embrace RPA and more advanced intelligent process automation, PwC estimates that this automation can save $2 trillion in global workforce costs. Many businesses are moving aggressively to capture RPA benefits. Shouldn't risk and compliance be moving forward too? Sizable improvements in productivity, cost reduction, and more comprehensive risk coverage are waiting to be gained. For more information on maximizing RPA's...
Okay. And also RPA can be used in other procedures, for example, the confirmation procedure. If you are interested in this, you can refer to this paper. And also RPA can be used in substantive audit procedures. And here I also give you an example from this paper. But before we talked about what RPA can do, right? But is there anything that RPA cannot do? Actually, RPA cannot automate tasks that require auditors' professional judgment. For example, the risk assessment, the decision of materiality, the audits of estimates. They are difficult for RPA to accomplish. And also, RPA cannot automate tasks that require human interactions. For example, the inquiry and observation. So here comes the concept of attended and unattended RPA. The attended automation means there is some human interaction, but for unattended automation, it doesn't need any human interactions. And for attended automation, the initiation of the program is triggered by human on demand. But for unattended automation, it's self-triggered per predetermined schedule. And for the application scope, the attended automation, the tasks that need real-time human system interaction are the application scope. But for unattended automation, it can automate the tasks that don't need the human interaction. And the objective of attended automation is to augment knowledge workers' day-to-day work and enable them to do it efficiently and effectively. But for unattended automation, the goal is to replace entire rows of knowledge workers where possible. But actually, as we all know, in auditing, there are a lot of tasks involving audit professional judgment or human interactions. Actually, according to a research I read before, more than 60% of audit tasks require professional judgment and cannot be fully automated by RPA. So that means in that case, we need to use the attended automation. And as a more advanced discussion, the RPA can be combined with AI to create something called intelligent process automation, which is called IPA. So we have already learned AI's definition before. So it is a field of making computers achieve human-like intelligence. And an important feature of modern AI is the ability to learn and adapt to new circumstances. But for RPA, RPA is just a software robot that mimics human actions and just simple human actions. But AI is the simulation of human intelligence by machines. And we talked about this before, the natural language processing, machine learning, chatbots, image processing. They are within the scope of AI. But for RPA, it is more used for high volume processes and labor-intensive processes, rule-based and repetitive processes, and processes with structured data. So they are quite different, and the focus and the roles of AI and RPA are quite different. However, the automation capabilities can be improved by combining AI with RPA. So the RPA combined with advanced cognitive capabilities, such as AI, will allow the bots to act more intelligently. So the resulting bots can interpret the interfaces they work across with better error handling capacity. For example, using RPA, the user needs the document to be in a specific format to get them scanned. In this case, if an AI system is used along with the task, it will filter out the poorly formatted or unsuitable documents. Hence, the work of the RPA will be much easier. An AI and RPA combination will also enable organizations to automate more complex and end-to-end processes. Because AI and RPA are two distinguished technologies that industries can use to witness their organization's digital transformation in real time, the combination of the two can prove to be extremely powerful. And so the combination of RPA and AI is called IPA, and sometimes it's also called hyperautomation. It is an ecosystem of technologies that are coordinated to achieve multifunctional service automation. And IPA is primarily needed in auditing because each technology by itself can just handle a specific type of task. But in auditing, many tasks are much more difficult and complex. So that's why I think in the future, IPA can be a very potential field compared with RPA. And yeah, so this is the auditor in the loop IPA ecosystem from the paper. So here is RPA. It can just handle the structured audit tasks. And here is the IPA. It can handle the semi-structured audit tasks. And using AI plus auditors, it can handle the unstructured audit tasks. So yeah, so in this ecosystem, we can see it's important to keep the human or the auditors in the loop because they will be responsible for reviewing the results and for dealing with exceptions and also providing professional judgments. And currently, even though IPA has demonstrated potential in industries, the IPA in audit is still futuristic. So if you want to conduct some literature review or relevant project, you can consider do some research about IPA because it's very futuristic. And here is an example of IPA. So this is not very relevant to audit, but I just want to show you what IPA can do. So it can moderate the social media pictures. So if we save the image in a folder, and we can use the bot to create a list of images to be processed in a spreadsheet. And the bot can then loop through all the images in the spreadsheet and invoke the Safe Search in the Google Cloud Vision API to check the images. The Google Cloud Vision API will return an output that indicates whether the image contains adult, medical, violent, or racy content. So this is a workflow for that process. So first, it builds the image list sequence, and it will output the worksheet like this. And next, it can obtain the Google API API's authentication, and then perform the safe search sequence. And this is the result from the Google API, Google Vision API. So that is how the RPA can be combined with AI. Here it is the Google Vision to conduct more advanced tasks. Okay, this concludes this video, and next week we will have the tutorials for UiPath Studio. And I hope you can go to the website I provide here to, here is the links. So I hope you can first go to these links to have a good understanding of the UiPath software, and yeah, maybe you can watch some tutorials from this website.